Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining me again on day 3 of 100 Days of Code. I'm Lilly Code, and let's get into this. And I'm doing the complete React tutorial by Maximilian. So join me here today while I continue on with the tutorial and complete my next day of 100 Days of Code. So that's what I'm at. So I'm just gonna get stuck straight in and get to learning. So. Hope some of you are following along with me and getting involved. Anytime you want to start it, just pick up and start doing the challenge. It's really great. Okay. Yeah, so we're just looking at this use state, and this tells the page something has changed on the page. It's a key React concept, so can't remember how to run a React project. NG. Why is that on my history? This happens a lot, so well, not a lot. Generally, I don't forget these are really basic. These really basic commands. But sometimes you do, and you just need to check what it is. npm start, and then this should fire up my project. Okay. So I need to run npm install. So I can't find a package.json file. It's telling me this is because I recently did a move the repository, so I'm actually not sure why that's happening, but let's see now after I've done npm install. So what's wrong now? Okay. So I was just in the wrong folder, that's why. So now I've created my package.lock.json outside, my package.json outside, of my project folder. So I'm just going to delete that. I was just trying to run it from the wrong place. So I thought 100 Days of Code React was the right project, but my project is actually called My App. So once I move into this project and then I try and start up my project, it'll start. So Okay, so apologies, I had some technical issues there, but we're back online, so let's just keep on going. It was only a moment. So title had already been declared, okay. And this is in expense item.js. So the errors tell you where the error is, so you can just go and have a look and fix it. So yeah, so here I've already declared my title and I want to use it with the state, and that's how I'm going to be accessing the title, so I can update it. I want to keep the state of that title in order for me to know what the previous value of the title was and to then update it on the fly. So that's why it's saying that it's being used twice there, because I have it declared here and then also here I'm using const and left. So if I get rid of one of them, okay, yeah, so this has to be const because of the fact that it's using the state. So even though it will change, I think we still use const. So let's just keep watching the video because he said he was going to explain that. So why are we using const? Okay. So that's why this isn't working. So the reason that this wasn't working is you use const when you're using it with use state, but therefore if you use the equals and actually assign a new value, well then it's not a constant. You've changed the value of that title or what you had held in the box assigned to title in your memory. So we can't do the equals. We don't use the equals here. Instead we do it with the bracket notation and we set the title. And this is how you can use this const, but then you're using the state and you set the title with this function that's being used to set the title, and you pass it through like this. So therefore once I save now, it shouldn't give out about the const. There we go, because I was also trying to assign it with this equals, which is not how you do it when you're doing it with use state. So that's why that was happening. So let's keep going. My chair is a bit squeaky, sorry about that. I'll have to get some WD-40 on it because I can't be having a squeaky chair. Okay, so all we're doing now is just creating some new files for creating a new expense. So what the new expense is going to be is a form. We want to return a form for this particular component. So it's going to be a form that we fill in, which is the details of the new expense. So you just declare, this is one way you can declare a component in React. So you declare it like a function. A component in React is just a function that's been returning out some JSX values, which is then converted and displayed in your browser. So that's how we define a React component, is with this function definition. So we have our const new expense, and then we just have this arrow function telling us that we want to return a div, parent level div with a form inside. And as I told you before, when you're working with React, you need to have that higher level div. So if these were on the same level, I'll get an error. I couldn't figure this out when I first started, and the only thing is it all needs to be wrapped in one parent div or element. So that's what's going on there, you know. So now we have one higher level div, and then I can add as many other ones in here as I want, and that's okay. But if I put another one on the same level, I'm going to get that error. So just to explain that, because that was something that baffled me after working with Angular, not really knowing what was going on there, and then I figured it out. And then you just export your default new expense. This is so it can be the name of your component. You export default and then the name of it, so it can be used in other places. And then I've also just created a corresponding CSS file, which Maximilian has given the CSS in the project, and because he says he's not really focusing on that, we're more focusing on the React, and the course is a long enough course anyway. That sounds like a good idea to me, so I'm good with that. So yeah, let's keep going. We're going to also create the expense form.js and then the expense form.css. New file. So we'll do the same thing we had done. This is the naming convention as well for React, capitals. So yeah, everything capitalized. So here we're just going to do the same thing. We don't need to import React because that's now taken care of, but you could add this if you so wished. Oh, this is the CSS. I was thinking, why isn't that highlighting? Do I have to finish the line? No, you don't have to finish the line. I was just typing it in the wrong file. So then we also want to import our CSS. So that's the way this notation is just the dot and the / is saying within the same folder. So just within this folder here, get me the CSS file. So that's what's going on there. And it's going to be expense form CSS. And we do that. And then we will create our function call. Expense form, and we want to equal, and then we need the arrow function. Where's my equals? And here we go. And then this is where we're going to have our what we want in there. And for the moment, I'm just going to export default to tie this off so we can use it, even though there's nothing in here at the moment. Expense form, and that's it. So now we're just setting up different bits that we need. So this is the high level div containing within the form containing, so I'll just add my open parentheses like this, so then I can format it down on the lower line. I just think it looks a little bit prettier, so like that. And then if we save, Didn't auto format. Better get an auto formatter. But however, let's continue. I can format myself for the time being. And then we've got div and class name. So in React, you don't say class, you say class name, and it equates to class. So this is how you put on your CSS classes in React, with the class name keyword. And then in here, so I need to close my div. And then we're just going to have a label for the title. And the text. And we want this to be text. Cool. Yeah, I'll just actually copy this. Oh. And paste it. And this is going to be the amount. And the type is going to be number. And then we'll give it a min and a max. And then a step, sorry, min and a step. So by what value it wants to go up. This, yeah, the step up, how it wants to increment or decrement, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then here we have the date. And also give these some values. And this will give us a date picker. Okay, and then all we need is our button just to tie off our form. So down here we will create a submit button, which will be how we will submit our form. So this is just inbuilt in the form component itself. You can label something as submit and it will become the button for that form. So that's what we're going to do now. Actions. And submit. Okay. So now, because we've done this work on the form and we have our form, our title amount and our date, we can use it on the new expense component. So we'll just import it. Oh. Okay. So I'll also give this a class name, and again I'll add my parentheses because it's not at the top level. It was not syntax highlighting it properly, so I'll add them in to do that. And new expense. Okay, and then in here, rather than it being the form, it's going to be this form we've created, this component, which is new expense, and we can self-close that then, like that. Oh yeah, this should be the form. Yeah, so obviously that should be a expense form. Sorry, it's the form that we want in there, so I've just changed that. Okay. So then I'm going to just use this in my, now I'm just going to use this inside of my app.js file. Okay. Oh yeah. Expenses.js. Okay, so I'm after firing up my React project and I'm getting this error still that I couldn't read title. So yeah, I had a little look at this yesterday and then I was just like, oh, I just want to continue, so I did just continue. But yeah, I think it's time to try and have a go fixing this. It really shouldn't be difficult, so let's just do it together, which this is the whole purpose really of even posting these, because if somebody does bother to sit and watch these for an hour, these are more just for my own logs, but getting through these bugs, that's the most valuable thing. So these are the bits that people get so stuck with, so really it's important. So expense item. So let's have a look at this error, and I'll explain how we read this and all, actually, first of all. So here we have our server running, we have our project running, I should say, and it's running at localhost 3000, and we did that from that npm start command that we ran. Excuse me. So then we're getting the error, cannot read properties of undefined reading title. So, and this is coming from this file, from the expenses file, and it's line 23 of the JavaScript. So the errors tell you everything you need to know. I know they look scary, but if you just take the time to like read it and don't freak out, it actually tells you a lot. So expense.js 23, here we go. So this is the error. Here. Expense item. So like, why is it erroring all the way down there? Title. So I'm just going to make sure, okay, because props.items.title. So everything is the same there, right? But sometimes your eyes can deceive you. So just to be sure, I'm going to copy and paste this line and change this to a 3. Now I don't think that's going to fix it because it wasn't the problem. Let's just make sure. Okay, so I think it is because I'm passing how I'm using this expenses. So maybe that's where it is giving me the error. So in my app.js, I use the expenses, yeah. And my items are this expenses array. Yeah. And here's the title, so it should be props dot title. So I was in expenses. Oh my god, it's because I only have 3 items in the array. Okay, yeah, so that's why it is. So if we go back, see, there you go. You get there eventually. And they always seem so silly when you figure them out. I swear, like when I first started, I would be stuck on a bug for like a week. It's not an exaggeration, a whole week. And yeah, that used to happen. So what's going on here is I've provided an extra thing. So as you can see here, 0 is the first item. So the way that an array or an object is constructed in React or in any programming language that I know of so far, Python, Java, JavaScript, this is how it goes. Right, so you have, this is an array here that we're after declaring, and these are the different items that we have in our array. This, 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 and this. So this is saying create a block in memory and pop these things into these 5 blocks that I've defined. But as you can see, counting an array, it starts at 0, right? So say if I have another array here, so that's just an array of numbers. But if I have another array, or ints, integers, if I have another array here of strings and I say cat, dog, mouse. So if I say cat, dog, mouse, very strange group of animals to pick there. This is the 0th element in the array. This is at location 0. So if you want to access it, say if this was called my array, like so. In order to access this first item in the array, what you would do is say my array 0. So get me what's at the 0th position of this particular array. So the counting doesn't start at 1 is the point I'm trying to make. The counting starts at 0. So therefore I have here 0, 1, 2 and 3, which is actually 4 elements in the array. But when I've been using this array, I'm only passing in 3 elements. So if we go back to where I'm passing in those elements, there's only 3 elements in this array at positions 0, 1 and 2. So therefore it can't find the 4th element. That's why I'm getting this error. So if I just delete that 4th block, it's not displaying anything because there's nothing to display there. Then it should go away. So if I get rid of this, seeing as no wonder it can't access anything, there are only 3 items in the array. Get so happy when you solve an array and you see your project compile, because that easily could have thrown in another spoon into the works. So that's great. There we go. Yay! The excitement is legit. So, okay. Should I have opened the developer tools? No, of course I should. I'm only messing. Cannot read properties undefined if reading title. Line 21. Something happened in my expenses component. The above error occurred. Okay. So, type error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading title. Aye. Let's see where this is talking about. Okay, so we're back here. So it's telling me that what's coming in at this position is undefined. So let's just click on this. Yeah. So line 21. So down here, something's wrong. Sorry, I have fluff or something stuck to my lips. Title is equal to the props dot items at position 2, and I want the title. And if you haven't noticed, there should be a form up here to input the date and stuff like that, because I've added that onto my app.js file here. So something's wrong with this as well. Okay, gonna just keep listening for another minute, so okay, so another thing I'm just going to do is get the CSS for these. So I have Max's project. Let's just go this way. This. So I don't even want to close that. I want to open this in a new window. I want to keep both of these babies open. And I want to take a look at Max's other stuff in order to get a CSS file. So this is not the project. Okay. Seems to happen to me a lot, like just dragging around windows. Nobody else seems to do it, and I'm just there dragging around windows. Speed, speed, just leave the window be. Okay. Okay, great. So these are, I'm just going to shut the window, excuse me. I could hear a plane going overhead. So these are some of the files that we've just created. Maximilian also has them in our project, and as I was saying, he's not going to be doing the CSS. I mean, you can sort of just have a look and figure it out yourself. This isn't complex CSS. So if you're still new in the game, look, everything looks complex when you first start, so do not worry about it. But this is just saying that for the dot expenses item, we just want padding around it, a background colour, and you give colours in the RGB format, so you've got the red, green and the blue value. We want a margin, which is the outside padding. The padding is the padding around the item, and then the margin is the padding outside the item. You want the width, so you're giving it a width of 50 REM, which is just a unit of measure. It's recommended for responsiveness as opposed to pixels, which is a defined set of space. Rem expands and grows with your content better because it's just better. Should really tell you why that is better. And then we have a maximum width of 95%, so we don't want it to go the whole way across the whole screen. We want it to only fill up 95% of that space. A border radius, which is just saying give a curved edges, and then you want a back box shadow, which is literally just putting a shadow on that item, which can make it look like just a little bit more 3D, you know, exciting, better than just a plain old element in some instances. So adding this little box shadow to give it a bit of life, a bit of style. And then here we have the RGBA value, and this is red, green, blue, and then the A is transparency. Maybe that's not what it actually stands for, but that is what it does. So I just know it's transparency. So I'm just going to look up what that actually is for you. RG, what's the A? Alpha. Sorry, alpha, yeah. So, but the alpha just controls how transparent that item is. So at 0.25, we only want a 0.25 transparency, you know. So that'll tell you how transparent the item is going to be. So that's what that does, makes it a bit see-through. So we don't want a solid box shadow, we want it to be transparent. So that's what's going on there. So I'm also going to copy over the other CSS. I ain't explaining this one, no, I'm only messing. It's just CSS. This isn't the main focus of the course, so I just want to get back to the React. Okay. So expense form. So we can see here these names are going to match up with the names that we've put into our file. So this is our expense form JS, and here's our expense form CSS. So all of these class names you see will have a correlated item in here. Okay, so I'm after taking a later version of the CSS. Yeah, I have, because okay. Okay, so I'm only on section 4. Getting a bit ahead of myself. Let's just go for 5. What am I missing? What's going on here? Okay. So I'm going to just keep going. It's not really all that important at the moment, so time to just keep making some progress. So I'm just going to pass in an event and log it out so I can see what is going on there. So now we can see that once I've typed into the input box, I'm running that change handler, title change handler function that I've defined, which we pass in just in these curly parentheses. And what's happening is what's inside this function is are now running. So once we change something in this input type text box, it runs this function, and this function just console logs out this line, so this string, title changed, an event. And we passed in the event in order to see what the event was. So let's go back to our browser, and here we can see if we go to the console again, just get rid of this for a moment and type in, this is a title. We get all of these events firing for each input that we input for each letter, and this is telling us about this particular input. So let's just pick a random one. So this has loads of different properties that you can run on this particular so yes, so okay, yeah, so it has all these different things that you can set for this particular event. This is what all the things that are related with the event, but the thing that we want is the value. So this tells us the value that we've put in. So we can access this now instead. So we'll log out event.target.value. And now let's have a look. So there we go. So now we have the actual value that was inputted into that box, which this is useful. We're going to use this in order to, once we add an expense, to populate what we want down here. So that's great. Yeah, so what we want to do now is capture each of these values that are coming out. So we want to store it somewhere in order for us to then populate the expense. So add it to an object and then populate the expense with that object. So we need to store this somewhere. So that's what we're going to do. So we use straight.
Okay, so I'm going to just do this for the other values as well. So here I also want a second on change, and I'm going to call this the logical name, which is amount change handler. And also do this for my date. So it's going to be date change handler. And then I just want to and this is going to be and this is going to be date. Cool. So I was wondering why these weren't syntax highlighting like this one, but it's because I haven't actually created the function yet. So as soon as I do that, all should be gravy, baby. So let's have a look. I don't need that open anyway. So this is going to be amount change handler, and this is going to be set entered amount. This is going to be set entered title, and this is going to be set entered date. And now everything, date change handler, enter date, set enter date. Date change handler. I did not change the name of the function. So now we have all of our different change handlers. We have them capturing the value that we've typed into these boxes. So now we can package that up into an object, and we can populate the new expense with that when we're creating the new expense. So that's what's going on. So cool. Could be even bigger, couldn't it? Keep that in mind. So even if we're using the date or the amount here, we get back our state as a string. So that's why this is a string. So then if we want it to be a date, we'll have to cast it back to a date or an int, a number, but they all come back as strings when you're using the use state. So that's why we can initialize it as an empty string. Okay guys, so thanks so much for joining me today on day 3 of 100 Days of Code, continuing on with Max's React course. I have to go and get ready for work, gonna have a little cup of coffee and just relax. So that's what I'm gonna do. So have a lovely day, enjoy everybody, and yeah, I'll see you tomorrow or later on today. So thank you, bye.